Welcome to episode 83 of Talking Dairy. I'm your host, Jack McGowan, and today we're talking about the critical topic of reproduction. As most dairy farmers are in the midst of calving, it might seem like an odd time to talk about it, but what you do now will significantly impact success at mating time. Nationally, we saw a 3% lift in the 6-week in-calf rates in 2023. Farmers who have improved their in-calf rates have a golden opportunity to build on the gains from a better calving pattern for mating 2024. In this episode, we're talking to veterinarian and 2024 Dairy Woman of the Year, Katrina Roberts, an experienced in-calf advisor, and her client, Rex Butterworth, a dairy farmer based in the Waikato. Together, they'll share insights on herd fertility and practical steps to enhance reproductive performance. We'll talk about the herd fertility cake, an approach for successful reproduction management. So stay tuned to find out more about what the herd fertility cake is and how it can transform your herd's performance. Tēnā korua, welcome to Talking Dairy, and thanks for joining us today, Katrina and Rex. Katrina, let's start with you. Congratulations on your recent award as 2024 Fonterra Dairy Woman of the Year. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, your farming interests, and what led you to become an in-calf trainer?
Thanks. Yeah, it's still only a few months old, but I'm still quite overwhelmed by the win. I'm a dairy vet at Anexa and have been for just over 20 years. I'm also a farm consultant with Headlands. I started doing in-calf advisor training back in 2010. I went through the first in-calf training in 2008 and was really excited by the opportunity to work with my farmers in the herd health repro space. And then I saw an opportunity to be able to help other vets and rural professionals gain those skills as well. So that's how I got involved with the in-calf advisor training.
Thanks, Katrina. And Rex, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day at the start of calving to come in and join us. How's it going so far for you?
Yeah, good, thanks, Jack. We're about just over halfway through calving, having a pretty sweet run, so no complaints on this end.
Very good. Rex, can you share a bit about yourself? Where did you grow up? And tell us a bit about your farm and also how you met Katrina.
Oh, I grew up in Te Pahu, which is a farming community. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were on a farm out there. As a fairly steep property, Hamilton Clay, not the easiest farm to farm, but 25 years ago we sold that, or the family sold that, and we bought this property that we're on now in Walton. It's slightly smaller than the one that we had, but much better soil types. It's just a lot more forgiving. We started off there with 340 cows and progressively have made our way up to sort of 480 to 500, depending on the season, with the aid of a support block. So we are fairly highly stocked on the milking platform, but over the entire amount of land that we collect the feed off, we're relatively normal. We do have herd homes on the farm, and through owning that farm and our connection with Anexa vets, that's how we met Katrina. She sort of came on board as our vet and has progressively moved into the role of advisor. And we really value her opinions.
Tell us a bit more about your farm. So have you got employees? Who's there?
Yes, we've got 2 couples on the farm. We're slightly overstaffed, but that's to try and offer good working conditions for everybody. Both couples are capable of running the farms on their own, and they cover for each other on time off, and 4 days a week we're all on board. I'm sort of come and go a little bit. I'm not there all of the time, but through the pressure times like calving, I am there every day, and I try and do all of the mop-up rolls around the edges so that they can start work and finish work at the same time every day and don't have to do any after-hours type scenario.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. Rex and Katrina, we're here to talk about herd fertility reproduction. Katrina, tell us more about this herd fertility cake. What is it?
There are multiple areas that influence herd reproductive performance, and the concept of the herd fertility cake does underpin the in-calf program in the sense that there are kind of 8 key herd management areas that need to be working at target level in order to achieve overall target reproductive performance. Those areas are kind of broken into the things that can influence pre-mating cycling, so all the things that happen before the mating period, and then things that go on and happen during the mating period. So the idea being is that each area needs to be focused on farm. We can't just do, 5 or 6 of them and hope that the other 2 are going to be all right. Everything needs to be focused on in order to achieve excellent performance.
And so what are those ingredients?
The factors that influence the pre-mating cycling rate are genetics, calving pattern, young stock or heifer management, body condition and nutrition, and that's body condition and nutrition at calving and then going through the mating period as well. Cow health, so that's around calving time and during the mating period. And then once mating starts, the key ingredients are heat detection, AB practices or artificial breeding practices, and then bull management. And so if we think about those kind of in a chronological order that I've listed them, we're kind of working from the beginning of the season right through the season. So it's kind of a cyclical concept.
What are the key ingredients that farmers should focus on in the time between calving and mating, Katrina?
Calving pattern is obviously already set. So that's something that's happened last season. So last season's mating performance has a massive influence on this season's mating performance because how a cow recovers after calving, how quickly she recovers is absolutely crucial to the chance of her getting back in calf again, which is why it's really important that we have short mating periods and we have lots of cows calving early and achieving a high 3-week and 6-week in calf rate. So calving pattern's kind of done. There isn't much our farmers can do about that right now. But what they can focus on is cow health, so diseases, prevention and treatment of diseases around calving time, and also body condition and nutrition. So feeding, managing those cows that are at risk and lower condition score, and helping those cows achieve good daily intakes and high quality, good quality feed such that they resume cycling quickly after calving. The group that I think also needs to be touched on is the young stock. So what's happening out if you've got a grazing block out at grazing or what's happening at your runoff. So those yearlings and how they're being fed through the winter is absolutely crucial to achieve good success in their first mating. And often because we're busy on farm at the moment, they're a group that kind of gets a little bit forgotten. So making sure that the yearlings are visited or contact is made with the grazier is really important to make sure they're on track for their target mating weights.
Okay, so you talked about pre-mating heats. Tell us more about that.
So the key is that if we have as many cows as possible cycling before mating starts, those cows are going to have a better chance of conceiving in the first round once mating's underway. We're kind of in our spring calving or block calving system, we're kind of always racing against the clock because we've got a certain period of time we want to get these cows in calf. So if we've got most of our cows having cycled before mating starts, we're going to have better reproductive performance. So we kind of aim for that kind of 75 to 85% of the herd cycled before mating starts is going to allow farmers to achieve target 3-week submission rates and target conception rates.
Okay, thank you. Now, Rex, you've obviously been applying the herd fertility cake to your own operations. That's why you've been invited in to chat with us today. How has this helped you make changes to your in-calf rates?
Yeah, well, my focus always used to be on getting the cows in calf rather than how quickly I got them in calf. And so I was more focused on the overall empty rate and used that as a measure of success. Katrina pointed out to me there's a lot more to it than that, and obviously the sooner you get them in calf, the more profit you can make out of them, and obviously everything else is falling into place behind them. So we started to look at the reasons that our 6-week in calf rate was low, below average, even though at the end of the day our empty rate was pretty much on par with everyone else, or sometimes even slightly better. But Katrina identified some areas that we needed to concentrate on. She did a couple of relatively in-depth studies or analyses on our fertility focus reports and came up with the fact that we needed to make sure that the heifers or the first calvers were getting that extra week to settle in and cycle before the planned start of mating, before AB.
So pulling their calving date or their mating date, I suppose, starting back there, pulling that forward?
Yeah. So what we did, we pulled that forward a little bit and we pushed out the herd a little bit. So it wasn't just starting a week earlier. It was a mix of the two. Then For the AB, we introduced K-Mars as well as tail paint. I just used to be tail paint only. So now we do use a combination of both. We increased the bull numbers because we're only doing AB for 3.5 weeks. So the bulls play a very, very important role. And so I identified that we were really 2 bulls short. So added another 2 bulls to the team for taking it from 12 to 14. Got the bulls fertility tested so that we knew that, we didn't have a dominant bull, for example, that was shooting blanks and getting the majority of the cows. So that itself showed up a couple of interesting scenarios. So we did have to drop a bull out one year because of that and retest a couple of others.
Yeah, I remember I resisted testing bulls for a long time, but there was no regrets once we started. It's a very small investment to make.
And I agree. I resisted all the time. I just thought it'll work out. There's enough of them.
Yeah.
But I got taught a lesson. So there you go. And then the other key factor for us was I'd allowed too many older cows to drift into the herd. They were showing up as empties at a much higher proportion than the rest of the herd. And they're taking energy and AB-wise and with the bulls and they were going to end up as culls anyhow. So those 5 factors have been what we've focused on primarily.
That sounds like that was a lot to take on board. How did that feel to be kind of served up 5 ingredients of the 8 ingredients to work on?
Oh, it felt really good. There was something tangible that we could work on, and they were all relatively easy things to do. I mean, I don't test the bulls, and all I had to do was buy 2 more. I only had to organise a truck a couple of days earlier to take the bulls to the heifers and those sort of things. So there really wasn't very much work involved in doing it. It was more planning. And without Katrina's input, it probably wouldn't have happened. I'm really thrilled with the end results.
Yeah, so talk to us about those results. Where did you start and where are you now?
So we started below average, sort of sitting our 6-week in calf rate around that sort of 68 to 70%. And that was 3 years ago. We've had varied results prior to that, but because we don't use CEDARs or prostaglandin in any type of intervention, I just thought, well, if you feed them well enough, if they get in calf well and good enough, they don't get rid of them. But that's a bit of a cop-out, really, doing that. The second year of implementing some of these changes, or all of these changes, we moved up to 74 to 75%. And then last season, we moved into the 77%, which has taken us into the top 25% from when we were in the bottom 50%. So, yeah, really happy.
Congratulations.
We've still got a long way to go, but we're moving in the right direction.
And it also sounds like there's been quite a shift in how you think about the whole thing in terms of your mindset as well. So you should be very proud of that.
Oh, well, it's Katrina that should be proud because she shifted a stubborn old man's thoughts.
Okay, so Rex, you sound reasonably happy with your last results, a 77% 6-week in calf rate, but you said there's always more to do. What, if anything, do you think limited you this season?
We did end up with a PI for BVD in the herd that came as a shock, and luckily Anexa scrambled everybody and they were there that afternoon to test all of the 2-year-olds. We found her and got her out of the herd pretty much immediately, but we were already a week or so into mating. So that has upset the results for the 2-year-olds. And as a result of that, I'm much more focused now on getting the bulls tested for BVD as well. So no animal comes onto our farm that the results of the BVD test hasn't been verified by myself. So just going to a bull sale and having someone say that they've been tested is not enough. We don't know where the PI came from. We don't know how she got infected. Every road we've taken has been a dead end. So doing everything I can to stop it from creeping back in.
One thing we know about BVD and persistently infected animals is that they can sneak in and not be easy to identify early. So that sounds like you're making some good changes in terms of preventing that happening again.
Yes, we're making sure that we do a bulk test before planned start of mating so that we've got time to react before anything too major happens. But yeah, it was a wake-up call.
Thanks, Rex, and thanks for being so open about that. It's something none of us want to happen, but it does happen. Rex, talk to us a little bit about how you manage your herd, and also you've talked about your farm team, how you look after them through spring, as we move into mating. So obviously we want a high submission and a high conception rate. What do you do there?
Well, firstly, as far as the staff and the team go, and I consider everybody in the team, not just the people who are working on the farm, but everybody around them and the professionals that we lean on very heavily for their advice. But as far as just on farm, we make sure that dry period is well utilised initially to get ourselves set up for calving. So we like to be 100% ready. Calf sheds, everything done at least 3 weeks out. So we're just actually hanging around and waiting for the calves to come. There's no stress on anybody, and everybody's taking a maximum amount of time off as possible. So that's a real focus for us through the dry period. And then, the staff sort of almost get to that stage of being a little bit bored, and they're really looking forward to getting stuck in, and they know that they're well prepared. They know the farm's well prepared, the stock are well prepared. So it's something actually they look forward to. And then as far as the stock goes, I've always put a lot of importance on transitioning the cows from dry cows through to, I always think this transition period should run from 2 or 3 weeks out from calving through to when they're pregnant again. But I think too often it is suggested the transition period is just from a couple of weeks before calving through to when they go and start putting milk into the vat. So we spend a lot of effort in that period, getting the diet right, introducing the heifers into the system so that there's not such a culture shock for those, and making sure that the cow's nutrition is where it needs to be for the stage of pregnancy that they're at. Not just fully feeding them, because if they're being fully fed on an inadequate diet, all you're doing is fooling yourself. So we do employ a nutritionist to help us get those smaller details right, the things that we wouldn't be aware of ourselves. And then when the cows do calve, they're on once a day. We do, the colostrums only get milked once a day, and any cow that isn't 100% stays on once a day until she is. They've only just given birth. It's a fairly big ask to be drawing all that milk off them and walking and all the rest of it. So we're really, really firm on the once a day. That's where our focus lands, and making sure that they're at a minimum on that rising plane of nutrition that we always used to talk about. But ideally they should be on the full level of nutrition from at least 2 weeks from calving right through to when they're back in calf. Can't afford really any hiccups through that period.
Thank you so much, Rex. Katrina, I'm going to come back to you. Rex has obviously made a lot of progress, and it sounds like just in 3 years. So, Katrina, where's the best place to start for farmers who want to improve their reproductive performance?
Farmers that are focused on being ready to make change need to understand their own numbers. This isn't a recipe, although we talk about the ingredients of the cake. Every season's different, every herd's different, every farm system's different, and every farmer is at a different stage of their farming career. And therefore, repro performance could be at their forefront, or it might be something that's kind of, playing second fiddle to a whole heap of other issues that are going on farm. But when the farmers are ready to make that improvement in reproductive performance, they need to look at their data alongside an in-calf advisor, ideally, so that they can really understand where the best gains can be made. Because as Rex said, there were 5 areas that Rex worked on. The way that he worked on those areas, there's a whole lot of different ways that those areas could have been worked on. And some of them could require quite an investment, and some of them could be done in quite a simple way. And that will depend on the farm, like the unique properties of the farm and the farm team as to which option's chosen. So I think that making sure that the farmer and the professionals that are working with the farmer and the staff as well understand the farm's data. So the fertility focus report's a great place to start, as Rex has already mentioned. But you may require your in-calf advisor to dig deeper into the numbers and to look at this loads of good reports out there through Mind Alive and through CRV's program as well, My Herd. So there's lots of ways of digging into the data more deeply to try and understand where the farmer should put their focus, and then trying to set some realistic goals and direction for that farm. So improving 6-week in calf rate around 9 or 10% over 3 years, which is what's happened on Rex's farm, is huge. Like, that's quite ambitious. But I think that Rex's example demonstrates that if you're focused and motivated for it, and it is time for your farm to focus on repro, then that's the results that can occur. Whereas if there's other things that are going on, maybe you're still expanding, you've got changeover of staff, other things going on in your life as a farmer, then repro, even though you want it to be your focus, maybe you can't expect to improve that much over 3 years. But Rex kept acknowledging my input. I see my input as being more trying to hold Rex to account, as an advisor working with the farmer. Like, Rex has got so much going on, not just on farm, but outside of farm as well, with other roles he's involved with. I see it as my responsibility to send the text message, to pick up the phone, to fire the email, to call in and go, hang on a minute, what happened there? Did you actually book that in? And then the success can happen, because I'm not doing it. I'm just helping to try and make sure that Rex achieves what he wanted to, which is what he said he did.
Yeah. Thank you, Katrina. Rex, I just want to come back to you. Are you looking to make any more changes or try anything different this year?
Well, I'm going to take my lead there from Katrina. I believe very heavily that, that we need to use the expertise of those people around us that are experts in their field, the professionals. And if Katrina thinks that there's something an area that we need to improve on that we're already working on, we will definitely go down that path. And if she wants to introduce something new, I'm all ears. So it'll be more of the same, and with any upgrades that Katrina comes up with, when she has a look at what's going on and where we could improve, because there's heaps of room to improve, of course.
So we've talked about the importance or the value in a farmer finding an in-calf advisor, and Rex has emphasised the importance of using those skilled people as well. How can someone become an in-calf advisor?
Dairy NZ is still currently running a couple of in-calf foundation training courses each year. So we've actually got another one in Christchurch in November. So if you check out the website, I'm sure the dates will be on there. And it's a 2-day course, which is run by myself, Dairy NZ person, and also another in-calf trainer. And it's 2 days of full-on focus on in-calf and reproductive performance. So a real opportunity for vets or rural professionals that are interested in working in the repro advisory space with their farmers to come along and learn.
Great. Thank you, Katrina. For farmers themselves, as well as the in-calf advisor, we have information on the Dairy NZ website. You can find out more about in-calf there, and it'll be linked in the show notes. That wraps up today's episode of Talking Dairy. A big thank you to our guests Katrina Roberts and Rex Butterworth for sharing their valuable insights on improving reproductive performance in dairy herds. If you'd like to find out more info about reproduction and mating, as I said, we've linked to key Dairy NZ tools and resources in the show notes. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Talking Dairy. Make sure to hit follow so you can keep up to date with our latest episodes. You can also keep up with Dairy NZ News on Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn, or go to our website and sign up for our fortnightly Dairy NZ News emails. As always, if you have any feedback on this podcast or have some ideas for future topics or guests to have on the show, please email us at talkingdairy@dairynz.co.nz. Mā te wā, Mōri ora, catch you next time.